recommendation of masks in the general public is a draconian measure. It's never been recommended before, and these dangers have always been put out there as real potential dangers.
Now, what I want to suggest to you that I remember some while ago, and this seems as if it's a different subject matter, it's a well-known remedy to help the body is using bicarbonate of soda. And there's a very good remedy, bicarbonate of soda and molasses, that was known as, if you like, a sort of natural remedy to clear cancer from the body, because the cancer comes out and eats the sugar, and with it takes the bicarbonate of soda down and kills it. Now, there was a doctor that was using, an Italian doctor that was using bicarbonate of soda, injected straight into the organs, and had tremendous success, and people were being cleared of their cancer in approximately a number of, say, 10 days or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 6 weeks at the most. And very, very interesting. What did the medical organization do? They struck him off the medical register. You see? So the people, I'm very fortunate. I use my little scanner, which is on my website. If you can look at moreenergyforlife.com, and you'll see it there. I use that. I use natural products. I use good old vitamin C, whether that's in lemons and lemons peel or all sorts of things, and lots of herbs. And I know how to look after myself, because being a dancer is absolutely essential, and being a mother is essential to be well and healthy, but to be able to pass these things on to other people. So on this whole issue of COVID, I have taken the precaution of taking more sage, which is similar to wormwood, because it's Artemisia that the Tanzanian government or Madagascan government was making COVID organics a drink and giving it to their school children and other people. And what Artemisia, or wormwood is its other name, is, it clears parasites out of the gut. Now, parasites in the gut, we've all got parasites, but really bring the immune system down, okay, big time. So taking things like vitamin C, taking things like sage, taking things like Artemisia, or its other name is wormwood, which is easy to get hold of, easy to grow, depending on where you live. And there are other things as well, anything that gets rid of the parasites in the body. So I've not worn a mask, will not wear a mask. I choose not to. I have written my I do not consent. So, you know, it's very interesting how the one world added in their satanic order is really trying to create genocide. And there are many, many people who are not like me. I mean, I'm 80, coming up 81 next week, and I am a researcher. I make YouTubes, I sing, classical singer, I'm a dancer of the past. I'm still do my exercises and what have you. So the point is, I'm very alert mentally. I research a lot of things. Now, there are many, many other people that don't do that. They have other great talents, etc. And so what I find shocking is those people are being, on purpose, and they don't know it, murdered. And there was a wonderful article which I've not had a chance to look at by John Rappaport, and I think he mentioned that in the title was people are being murdered, and that is what is happening. So we cannot trust our governments. We cannot trust. I mean, I'm shocked at probably, if not all the British MPs, and haven't any of them woken up? Haven't any of them given consideration to that there's something very fishy behind this? Certainly if you go on to UK Column, you will find that they don't believe everything and they do question it. I like that programme very much. And Brian Garish, as I've said before, I met for a short while. Probably I spoke to him for about 20 minutes, half an hour, something like that, when we met at a friend's house. And so the governments are not our friends. Some of the politicians might be, but are they being paid? Are they being coerced for not standing up for the people always? I don't know. I don't have any proof, but except that I question them all. So let's get on with listening to more of this.
People also get skin problems because of the mask. It's harder to breathe, which is not a negligible thing, because if you're wearing a mask a lot in the humid weather of the summer, it gathers humidity, makes it harder to breathe. So these are very significant effects.
Now, what I'd like to say, I use Scanner, I treat people with Scanner, I treat myself with Scanner. Now, the lungs are directly related to the skin. The skin is the biggest organ of the body. It's an actual organ. Okay, and the skin will show anything that's going on in the lungs. It will show. Now, very interesting. I have recently come out with a whole mass of looks like mosquito bites. But I was treating myself, and what I think it was is that actually my lungs were, when I scanned myself, were cleansing. I've got the spots down my legs, I've got them down my arms, and I think that what my body was doing through my working on the lungs, etc., it was cleansing itself of the toxins. When I was in London, which was last year, and I'd been there for 10 years, the amount of chemtrails that were coming over, and people were suffering from Morgellons disease, and I certainly was suffering from Morgellons disease, which were these big rashes coming out. This time this was very itchy, and they've ended up in scars and spots that actually are slow to heal and were very, very itchy, so I didn't help. But things are going on that we don't know about. Some might, but most of us don't, that are not helping our health. In fact, there's an intentionality by some, as I say, the Agenda 21 and the One World Satanic Order, to try and cull the population, to kill us, to drop us down to something like 500,000, something ridiculous like that. So there we are. There's a lot of very important, when you inhibit the oxygen into your lungs, you lose energy. A friend of mine was saying, who's wearing, in England, he's wearing mask. I wrote back and said, don't, about 9 hours a day. He's exhausted, and he's in his 60s. Wonderful pianist. This is terrible. And people don't know the research. They don't know the reality. They're just, they, in good faith, watch the news, and they're being hoodwinked.
And there was one randomized controlled study with health workers that showed that wearing an N95, the one outcome they did find is that these healthcare workers got far more headaches, serious headaches from doing that, than the colleagues that were not wearing them.
Right, far more headaches. That's invariably to do with liver, but also that's because the liver cleanses the toxins, and if the body is not able to get rid of the toxins through inhaling and exhaling, then of course it's going to affect the liver. and therefore people are going to go down with headaches. I tell you what, it's wonderful being a natural practitioner, because I've learned so much. I've been a natural practitioner for something around 30 odd years.
Okay, so it impairing someone's breathing and for a long time during the day outside in the sun, it can't be a good idea. So these are the dangers that are admitted by the World Health Organization when they make the recommendation of masks. And the only advantages that they claim might be present is that it prevents source infection. So they're not even trying to claim that it prevents you from getting the infection, barring the entry. They're claiming that it's the only advantage they're claiming is that you have asymptomatic people who don't know to stay at home, who are out there, so everybody better wear a mask, might be one of those persons, and that the mask will somehow prevent these transmissive particles from getting out of you and infecting others, which is a ridiculous notion because none of these studies have seen such an effect.
What their real agenda is, let me assure you, is depopulation. That's the agenda. It's called genocide, if one really wants to use a clearer word for it. And at a very much closer to home, it's called planned murder. And any government agency listening to my video, please take this to heart and know that is what the governments and the government agencies are involved in. Or the WHO, World Health Organization, it's a sickness organization. And you better wake up if you care about your children, meaning the people who are part of the government organizations or the Prime Minister or Minister of Health or any of the ministers.
And if you think about it, you can reason it as well in terms of the physics and the biology of it. The smallest size fractions of these aerosol particles is what's responsible for the transmissivity. Okay, that's been known for a decade. All of these viral respiratory diseases are the same. That's why there's a seasonal dependence of transmissivity because of that. So these particles are very fine and they follow the flow of air. So as soon as you have openings on the side of the mask or anything, that's where the air, that's the lowest impedance part where the flow will be, and the particles are coming in and out just as easily. So it's ridiculous that a cloth mask could have any effect. If it doesn't protect you from inhaling, it's not going to prevent those very same particles that infect you from getting out as well.
And what would you say is the importance of obtaining herd immunity, and is not mandating masks going to actually help with that?
I just want to touch on this briefly, because I was just going to say before this gentleman said about herd immunity, but what this pushing for wearing masks are, in my opinion, because they don't do any good, in fact they do a lot of harm, is literally to see how many of the public will follow like little sheeple. And I'm not being dismissive of my fellow mankind, but many of them are very naive and would rather believe their governments and their BB or better be careful. I think we'll call it the better be careful. They don't realise.
You don't have to plan to get herd immunity. Everyone's going to get it. We're going to have it as a society. These are extraordinarily contagious diseases. They're not lethal, but they're very contagious. So everyone who can potentially get it through the transmission, through these aerosol particles, is going to be exposed, and their immune system will handle it, and that their immune system will have a memory of that particular pathogen, and it will help them in the future. And it will help them with similar viruses as well, because there's a kind of cross immunity that occurs. So this is how we have been living with viruses for 5 million years. Our ancestors are still present. They've always been around. There's always been a huge array of these types of viruses that cause respiratory diseases. And for breathing animals, it's 300 million years. So the viruses have been with us forever. And the immune system, this extraordinarily powerful system that we have, has been co-adapting with these viruses forever.
So when you put people in quarantine, you stop them building up this immunity which all the time when you go shopping and you're mixing with people in, they're standing in a queue or going to into a shop or what have you, you are building up your immunity.